Doyle Brunson, the man who went from a shattered NBA dream to winning millions of dollars and becoming the godfather of poker. With 10 World Series of Poker bracelets, let's see how it all happened. How it all started. Doyle Frank Brunson was born on the 10th of August 1933 in a small rural area of Longworth, Fisher County, Texas. He was one of 3 children, and his family were exceptionally poor. Growing up in a rural area with no electricity, where everyone was either a farmer or a livestock owner, Doyle never had the option of dreaming big. All he had was a close-knit family and an athletic build which allowed him to excel in sports. He loved running on the track, but also playing basketball, and despite being disadvantaged with his background, he was so good that his talents on the court didn't go unnoticed. He was offered a scholarship to school and play basketball at Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene, Texas, and he could picture his future, seeing himself becoming the greatest basketball player of his day. While in college, he dominated every game and caught the interest of the Minneapolis Lakers, now known as the LA Lakers, who wanted to sign him to the team as a professional NBA player after graduation. However, something happened that changed Doyle's life forever. He was working in a factory part-time to make a little extra money for himself, and one day was involved in a serious accident in where he broke his leg in a way that he knew his basketball career was over. This was certainly the end, but he never recovered fully from the leg injury and walked around on crutches everywhere he went. Every gambler has that one story, the time they beat the odds and hit it big. Now it's your turn to create your story and become a main character in our future videos. Welcome to Crypto Rush, where luck meets opportunity in the world of crypto gambling. Deposit crypto, play your favorite games, and cash out in seconds. Crypto Rush brings the joy and excitement of a casino to your fingertips. Click the first link in the description and start your winning streak today. Use code CR50 to get $50 free to play on slots, casino games, or the sportsbook. Crypto Rush, where legends are made. Early introduction to poker. During his healing period, Doyle spent a lot of time suspended to a chair, so he had time on his hands. He began learning poker and found that he was pretty good at it, but he only played for fun and to bully his friends who had come around to visit. When he was medically cleared, he then went back to school, acquiring a bachelor's degree, and he wasn't sure of what he would do next. And since he was already physically disadvantaged, he decided to give himself an edge by going for a master's. He then acquired his master's degree in 1955, and his first job after graduation would be a sales position. He had his eyes on high-income positions, and sales seemed to be the way to go at the time. On the first day of work, he was invited by colleagues to join a 7-card stud poker game, where he accepted immediately. It began as a way for him to bond with colleagues, but he would soon end up cleaning them out and taking them for everything they were worth. That day, he won more money than a full month's salary. It was an obvious sign, and he realized that he had potential and decided to transition from the corporate world to full-time gambling. He felt that if things had gone bad, he could always fall back on his degree, so he quit his job and began learning everything he could about playing poker in the casinos. He started off playing in underground games that were mostly hosted in dangerous environments. He moved across Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana and had his fair share of threats as he mingled with criminals and charlatans who often turned a simple game of poker into a giant brawl. Doyle was undeterred by these events, and he even made friends along the way, traveling with them on occasion. Other players like Sailor Roberts and Amarillo Slim would help Doyle to hone his skills as he quickly elevated his gameplay to high-stakes games. These kind of games would often end up with a threat of violence and deadly altercations, since they had mostly operated outside of the legal space. But it also helped to mold Doyle into a strong character with a sharp wit. He was quite strategic, and over time, none of his peers wanted to play against him, as he always seemed to have a card up his sleeve, metaphorically speaking. Family and tragedy. Doyle met the love of his life, Louise, in 1959, and the 2 lovebirds tied the knot in 1962. The couple began a family while Doyle was establishing himself as a poker player. They were expecting a baby girl, and things seemed to be normal. But then tragedy would strike. In the early 60s, Doyle visited the hospital for a discomfort that he had been battling with, and that's when the doctor discovered a cancerous tumor on his neck. The first surgery became a disaster, and the cancer ended up spreading, and Doyle's whole life would fall apart when doctors told him he only had 3 months to live. After a lot of deliberations, the doctors decided to attempt a second surgery and chemotherapy in order to give Doyle more time to witness the birth of his child. Miraculously, they were able to restrain the aggressive aggressive tumor from spreading, and after a few months, no single cancer cell would be found. Doyle was completely healed, and in an interview he would go on to say that he was in touch with a Christian faith healer and his experience deepened his belief in God. He had survived a serious health problem that should have taken his life, but it was not over, and death would come back calling later, where this time it was for a loved one. Back to the road. Doyle Brunson hit the road once again for new exploits, where he and his friend Dwayne Hamilton left their mark on every underground gambling scene. They played in Fort Worth, Texas, finding no real challenges, and then linked up with Amarillo Slim and Sailor Roberts to form the most formidable poker team, known as the Texas Rounders. The four of them on the same table was bad news for any other gambler who had dared to play. They were the most elite poker players in Texas and were dominant throughout the 50s and 60s. They came across several dangerous players who had threatened their lives at one point or another, but somehow always found a way around the situation. The Rounders, after 6 years of playing illegal poker games in clandestine places, decided that they were now too big for the underground scene, and that's when they decided to move to Las Vegas. They were already known in many parts of the country, even in Las Vegas, and when they arrived they expected to clean out the casinos as they always did, but they would be in for the shock of a lifetime. Brunson takes Vegas. The Texas Rounders had lost a massive amount of money on their first week playing in Las Vegas, and by the end of the month, they had lost as much as 6 figures. It became obvious that Vegas was a different world of its own and would take something special to beat. In the midst of it all, Brunson had lost his 18-year-old daughter Doyle to a heart valve condition. This unfortunate incident took a toll on his mental health, and he was unable to play the way in which he used to. He was mourning the loss of his daughter and under great pressure, and tried to stay as mentally focused as possible, but there was just no way that he could shake it off so quickly. The Rounders took such a financial blow that they had to split up, and this decision was mutual and didn't affect their friendship in any way. However, they also needed to take their time to chase other things. Doyle was persistent and continued to play in Vegas, quickly adjusting to the playing field, where he became one of the side attractions of poker, beating some of the best players that Vegas had to offer. Anytime that he stepped up to a table, there was a crowd of people around watching in admiration, but what they didn't know was that Doyle was only getting started, and what he would do next would become completely unforgettable. The World Series of Poker. The first ever World Series of Poker was organized in 1970 and brought together the best players from around the world to compete for greatness and a massive cash prize. Brunson had prepared for the competition, mostly spending time at the Bellagio Hotel and Casino. In 1976, he won the World Series of Poker with a hand of 10 deuce. Things would be even more crazy as he won the World Series again the following year, and then did it with the same hand of 10 deuce. This combination would be immortalized in history as the Doyle Brunson hand. From there on, he went on a rampage, dominating the world of poker. He became the first player to ever earn $6 million at live poker tournaments, making him one of the greatest to ever play the game. He then went on to win the World Series 8 more times within his lifetime, earning a total of 10 bracelets and putting him in the position of third best poker player in history. His consecutive wins in 1976 and 77 were only ever outdone by 3 other players, and those feats would earn him the title of the Godfather of Poker. The Super System, a book on mastering poker. Doyle Brunson was already a legend in the field of poker, and many wanted to follow in his footsteps. He would be featured on TV shows and in the media, and then decided to contribute something to the world that would summarize his experience. In 1978, he published a book called Super System: How I Made Over $1 Million Playing Poker. The book would go viral and was reported to have deep knowledge that would be helpful to those who wanted to be better at the game. It was the very first book which exposed secret strategies to poker and considered by many to be the Bible of poker, selling tens of thousands of copies each and every month. In 2004, a revised version would be published under the name of Super System 2, and it included contributions from other big names in the game. Life and legacy. Having aged and amassed a significant amount of wealth in the game, Doyle Brunson took a step back from playing poker In part, this was due to his age, being over 80 years old, and also the fact that he wanted to spend more time with his family and his wife. However, he has remained present at every major poker tournament, especially the World Series. He often participated in high-stake cash games at the Bellagio just for fun, and his son Todd Brunson has followed closely in his father's footsteps, becoming a World Series of Poker champion himself in 2005. Both father and son became the first father-son combination to achieve this level of poker excellence. Doyle officially announced his retirement from all poker tournaments, but remained relevant in small ways to the poker community. Doyle Brunson passed away on the 14th of May in 2023 at the age of 89. His journey from a poor child born in a small town in Texas to the godfather of poker with many accolades and a phenomenal contribution to its evolution showed that with resilience and passion, even the most underrated and disadvantaged person is capable of doing great things. What did you think of the life of the godfather of poker, Doyle Brunson? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and also subscribe to the channel so that you never miss another great video like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.